Hey everybody, I'm Ben.
And I'm Sam.
And this is Counterfeit Christianity again at Sam's new house. In this video, we're going to talk about living on the margins, on the outside of the, sort of like on the outskirts of society and culture. And this came to our mind. We've talked about it before, but this came to my mind again when I was reading about Elijah and how he lived his life. There's not very many verses or chapters that he's in. It's a small part, but he's like, the way that it describes that he lives and lived was very interesting, and he lived on the margins.
He's like a wild man.
Yeah.
Ate grasshoppers and made shoes out of palm fronds.
Yeah.
I guess, I think it's true in normal society. People who speak the truth, who are connected to God, usually get shunned because they're upsetting the system that the demons have made.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people who are happy with that system, they don't like it if you sort of disrupt it on.
Yeah, and you get sort of not just shunned from society, but from the people around you as well. Like even your family. Like we're just talking a little bit about your family, but it's like, it's the same thing. Like when I talk to people around me about these things, it sort of rubs them the wrong way all the time. And it happens often. And I end up having arguments about things that seem kind of obvious to me, but for what some, even they agree with me, but they still want to argue with me about it. I find that a lot.
That's usually about them, I think.
Maybe.
And then it's usually, some people, if you argue with them, they just want to keep arguing and convincing themselves because you're making them feel insecure about what they believe, and they've decided what they believe is part of their personality instead of it's a separate idea from themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why they defend it so hard, because you're putting cracks in it and they're trying to fill them up.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being an open-minded person and going, well, I am me and this idea is outside me and I have to consider it on its own merits.
Yeah, I think that is what God is bringing me into and you into. I assume it's the same, but tell me if it's not. But like, for some reason, like, I'm able now to sort of step aside from my opinions and be like, it's not who I am. I am able to consider anything that anybody says, and it's like I can think about this in an objective way. And
there is this old saying, I think it was from Caesar, one of the Caesars in Rome. It was, if you find that your opinion is aligning with the majority, it's time to pause and reflect.
Yep.
And I think that would suit, say, we were talking about Elijah earlier. You know, he was God's man through and through. He showed a lot of supernatural miracles, through his relationship with God. And he was someone who was an outsider and a reject, And I think that's the same today, If you are not an outsider, you're not a reject, you're probably going along with the system.
Yeah, you need to be a part of the system.
You're not upsetting the system, and therefore you're accepted.
Yep.
And that's what keeps a lot of people in the system, is they don't want to be rejected. They don't want to be on the margins. They don't want to live and eat grasshoppers out like Elijah did.
Yeah. Yeah, and be okay with whatever. Yeah. So I reckon the next sort of path, we just had the removalists come, so my brain is like friggin' fried and I'm thinking about different things. So I want to talk about us and how we, like, how is it that we're on the margins? Like, we've sort of talked about this a little bit, but I felt like I've been on the margins, like, ever since I was a little kid. And it was like, even at school, like, I never fit in with how they wanted to do things and stuff like that. And now, whatever it is, I can just see everything that's happening. Like, and I don't want to play the fucking stupid games. I don't know, how would you, like, how are you on the margin? Because we both are. Like, our lives are kind of different than most people do life.
I think people have always considered me to be a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
Sam's the guy over there who thinks all that strange stuff and acts differently and doesn't seem to try and fit in like everyone else or try and conform. I'm not much of a conformist.
Yeah.
I sort of do what I like. It usually pisses people off.
Yep.
I try not to, you got to do it with love. I try not to do what I like and upset other people for no reason or to trample on them or whatever. But when you think differently and you don't follow, people always try and get in your way. They try and stop you. They try and make fun of you. They try and sometimes they even attack you.
Yep.
Physically or otherwise, because you're threatening their ego integrity and maybe their sense of security, because the system is their sense of security.
Yeah. And
if you're not in it acting like them, then you're a weirdo.
Yep.
It's almost like an immune system.
Yeah.
We're like a virus.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the way that the group that I'm with, Luke 10, that I have a lot to do with, is they actually describe it as a virus. Like, we are spreading the virus of Jesus by living relationally with other people.
The virus of Jesus.
Yeah.
So many religious people go nuts over that single statement.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
But the premise behind it is sound.
Yeah. We just, like, bit by bit, we live relationally with other people, and they catch the virus.
Well, Jesus doesn't really care about ceremony or procedure. He only cares about people.
Yep.
Like that. I probably said this 100,000 times in my life, but there's this guy that goes up to Jesus and says, "What must I do?"
Yeah.
To obey all the commandments. And all Jesus says to him is, "Love God and treat other people the way you want to be treated." It's not supposed to be about, have I ticked this box and have I looked good at church on Sunday, and all that sort of filler rubbish.
Yeah.
Which is worth nothing.
Yeah.
And it's same with that Corinthians verse. If I can move mountains and I can heal the sick, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. I'm a clanging gong or a cymbal that's clashing. It's useless.
Yeah.
Because there's no love in it, and that's really what drives God, what drives Jesus, and what made Jesus angry on this earth was usually when people were being treated badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Jesus was an outsider. Most definitely.
Well, he was on the margins.
Yeah,
They
massively. Yeah, and Elijah, I love hearing Elijah's story again the other day. It's just so great the way that he was with God in everything, and he was alone in it too. Maybe he was. We don't actually know who he was with, but it seemed to be that he was alone, and he was like just running around being with God all the time. He lived with God. He would come in and do something and then piss off back to his mountain. And then when they tried to mess with him, God just killed everybody.
Set like fire from the sky or something.
Well, and God, he just and even that whole...
God messes up people who try and fuck with me. People come at me and try and get me, and then if you let God deal with them and don't let them upset you, then he often does.
Yeah, I think as we move further into this evil world, this systematic world that is controlled by Satan, we're going to start seeing this stuff. Those people who are on the way with Jesus, are true followers of Jesus with their groups of people, we're going to start seeing this stuff again, because this world is slipping back into such a evil place. And like we talked about in our previous video, once something is being cleared of demons and then let demons come back in, it's going to come back tenfold. So what we're going to experience...
There's a verse about that too.
Yeah, definitely.
About they drove the demons out of the man, and everything became clean and orderly and fresh, and he was happy. And then the demons were like, "Oh, this is a nice place to move back into." And instead of one, then he had
77
10
or I don't know, a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah, so that's what our society is at the moment. It's going to come back in and be. It was obviously controlled by these ancient gods, but yeah, the life that we have with other followers and the other people who are on the way is going to becoming, I believe, very exciting soon for those who are truly following, who are not systematized, who are not within a religion, who are not Christians even. Like some Christians can be on the way, but you're not on the way because you're a Christian. We could say it like that, I suppose. Yeah, you're not with Jesus just because you're a Christian. So that's sort of like another thing that is kind of interesting. But yeah, I think lots of exciting things are going to happen soon, and we're going to start being able to heal people, because we were just talking about this today. Like, we can't go back into places like hospitals because they'll do evil things to us without asking us.
I think we would get refused organ transplants and stuff at the moment, which is pretty evil.
Yeah.
Still have to pay Medicare.
Yeah.
But
no choice.
You didn't take the Pfizer shot, and so we're punishing you for our corporate master's benefit.
Yeah. But that's okay, because we're on the way with Jesus, and then he will do amazing things. Like, what does it say? You probably know the verse, but how it says, "My followers will do bigger and greater things to me," something like that. Is that how it goes?
Yeah. You'll do bigger and greater things than I ever did.
Yeah.
But I don't really see that in the world at the moment.
No, because
maybe its time is coming.
Yeah, it's controlled by religion, and we're stepping out of a place where it's been safe and free for everybody to soon it's going to be quite similar to what it was back in the day. So, yeah, I don't know. That's probably living on the margins. So I think that probably living on the margins is not something you need to strive for. It just happens to be where both of us have come from.
If you're being yourself and you're moving with God and you find yourself on the margins, you're probably on the right track.
It feels good. I love it.
Would you trade God for the world?
Yeah.
I think not.
We talked about this before, but we hung out a little bit when there was still like mask mandates in place, and neither of us ever wore them. And it's so much fun. I just enjoyed it so much. You go into Bunnings and they're like, put your mask on. And you're like, fuck off.
Pretty much. I remember one day we both turned around at the same time. It's like, nah, we have an exemption. And then they just, because you're not conforming, right?
Yeah.
And I had a lot of people like glaring at me and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you walk in and you get this gaggle of people who are bored into the system and they're all glaring at you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I haven't done anything to you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just everyone, these system lovers versus us, who are us. I can imagine Elijah being exactly the same. He'd come into town, they're like, what the heck's going on here? He's freak.
Why aren't you wearing your mask, mate? Have you been quadruple jabbed?
That's exactly it.
It's call down fire from heaven.
Well, what did he do? He said, when he did that with the priests of Baal, he didn't do it. He didn't even call it down, really. He didn't even have to do it. He said, you are God. Boosh, and he smashed it and burnt them all up. It's like, he just like, you're God. And that makes me feel so good. I'm so excited.
It's just an extension of who he is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it, I think, right? That's all.
Yeah, well, I guess the overall message is what we just said. If you find yourself on the margins, don't despair, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
There are more of us.
There's a lot.
And you're probably on the right path.
Yeah. All right, see ya.
Yeah, right.